Hey everyone, I hope you all are doing well. I know I'm in a different location than normal, but this is going to be my background for the next little while. The last few weeks have been chaos. We had a leak in our basement. Luckily, no books were harmed in the discovery of that leak. I'm very thankful for that. But I can't film down there because we just got the leak fixed and everything is still kind of all over the place. Hopefully, since that work was done last week, I'm hopeful by next week I can start kind of moving things back around. I can clean up the area and everything will be back as it should be. So, today I am here to wrap up my reading month for March. March was a little bit of a different month for me. I definitely had a couple varieties of read. I definitely have to say, I think I had a good reading month for March, although it wasn't the exact same as previous months. I think it was a very solid month for reading. The first book that I read was Save the Date by Jenny B. Jones. This book was hilarious. It was a forced romance, hate to love vibe, and I was here for it. So our two main characters end up getting in a fake relationship for different reasons, unique to themselves, and it's kind of the romance that came about from it. This is very slow burn, but it's hilarious. I loved getting to see the smoldering scenes that occurred between the characters as they slowly started to develop feelings for each other. I enjoyed the humor that was presented with our main female lead being a bit of a nerd and having nerdy interests, and I was fully there for it because, let's be honest, nerdy characters are just the best characters to write, and it's because nerdy people are the best kind of people. Like, they embrace the funny, the weird, the uniqueness about themselves and the things that they are passionate about, and it just makes for a great character. This story has the male lead getting into this fake relationship for political reasons. He is running for office and he wants to get in, and he's been told that if he's in a relationship, it's going to boost his numbers. Our main female lead is wanting to get into a relationship to save the organization that she is currently operating. So she operates Saving Grace, which is a shelter of sorts. So basically, it's for young women who've aged out of the foster care system and they haven't fully aged out of being a student and they still need support and community that would allow them to then flourish when they're a little bit older and they age out of this home. Reason why I'm specifying this home is because there's a blurb at the start of the story where the author expresses that this is an actual organization, it is an actual home, and I think it's really cool that the author was inspired by something happening in real life and surrounding a story for it. It worked for me. I really enjoyed this. I tagged so many things that made me laugh out loud, or it was just a very smoldering scene where the slow burn was just working so well. So this is one that I had a lot of fun reading, and it's sat on my shelf since 2014, and I'm glad I finally got around to reading it. It was so much fun. The next one that I read is called Not My Romeo. I read this on my Kindle and I really enjoyed this one. I'm glad that I finally got around to reading it as well. This one follows our main character who ends up going on, or is forced to go on, a blind date. Now, when she sits down across from the man that was dressed as she was told he would be, things are not always as they appear to be. And this one was so much fun to read. There were a few unique things that the story involved, and just some changes that I found interesting in the basis of having characters perceived one way, but actually having them be a different way, and having that slowly unfold as the story progresses. I really enjoyed this one, and it is a duology, and I'm very satisfied with the conclusion. They wrapped up the story really well, so if you don't want to continue reading, you have the full story in this first book for the characters that the story is about. The second one follows different characters, and I am interested in continuing to read this series and see where the story goes from there. I really enjoy this author's writing style. I didn't find it difficult to get through. It was one that flowed very well, and I had a lot of fun while I was reading it. After that, I read Scandalous on my Kindle, and this one was definitely not what I was expecting. So this one is a little, I don't even know how to describe it actually. It's a little different from what I normally read. This one is a bodyguard romance. So it's a bodyguard movie star romance. And I don't know how to explain it. It's not, as I said, like, it's not something that I typically read, but it's one that it worked for me. So we have a very alpha bodyguard, and we have somebody who definitely needs that alpha persona in her life. And I would say I don't think that this book is for everyone. I will put it out there. I don't think that this would necessarily work for everyone who read it because it might not necessarily be what they're looking for in a character. But this one is very steamy and it covered a lot of topics that could be triggering for people. So please make sure if you have triggers that you go and you check those triggers out beforehand. I don't know if the author has it on their website or if it's posted somewhere online. I'm sure that there's somewhere you can find trigger warnings for this book. But for me, this story worked and I very much enjoyed reading it and I enjoyed kind of seeing the characters change and develop. Now, yes, could this be perceived as insta love? It could, but it doesn't really read that way, even if the story only takes place over a shorter length of time where the characters are involved with each other. But this had enough of development and plot and story that it didn't feel very like insta lovey in my book, and I definitely enjoyed it. I've never read this author before. I think this is the first time I've read this author, and I know that this is going to be one that I am going to be reading other books by because I really enjoyed this. After that, I picked up More Days at the Murasaki Bookshop, and this is by Satoshi Yagasawa. And this one, my friend actually bought for me for my birthday last summer, and I buddy read last spring with her Days at the Murasaki Bookshop. If you guys are looking for a book that is going to just give you that Japanese living vibe, you're feeling like you're immersed in that environment, you're not necessarily in a very like, you know, Osaka, or you're not in like the popular areas of Japan. They have you off in this little spot that honestly, if it's a real spot I want to go and visit, it's an entire row or alley of all these old school bookstores with old Japanese novels and things like that. And I want to go and visit there because it feels so comfy cozy and it just feels like somewhere that my bookworm heart, my book dragon heart, my reader heart would like just be at home in that space. I was not expecting this one to hit me as hard as it did. Now, don't get me wrong, the author definitely covers like very realistic, deep topics in the first one and in this one. I just was not expecting where the author went in the story, and it took me a long time sitting with this. And I still actually have not done my review on Goodreads, like my written out review for it, because it's really hard to put my thoughts into writing, and it's hard to put my thoughts into words as well, because this one just left me with so many emotions and feelings. And I feel like if you read this series, this duology, like just be prepared to go through like a ton of different stages for emotions. I don't want to say that you're going to end up going through like the stages of grief, but like for me, I could probably say like that pattern of like the different stages was very similar to how I went through when I was reading these books. It's not one that I picked up and was able to just like sit down and read page to page. It was one that I had to like set aside time, read a little bit of it, put it down, and kind of absorb my thoughts. And I feel like this would be a great book club discussion book because there's so many different factors to discuss. And this is definitely a literary fiction that I would say like that kind of vibe. I always perceive literary fiction as books that you want to sit down and dissect and discuss all these little tidbits as you go through the story. And that is exactly what this author does. Like it's a very literary, well-written work. And it's not one that you want to just like read through to finish in a day. It's one that I feel like you need to take time to absorb it. After that, I read Mystery Man on my Kindle. This is one author that I really like, and I did read this many years ago, and I have had it on my Kindle for a few years. I bought it previously. I think I just borrowed it when I had my Amazon, like the Kindle Unlimited subscription. I read this one and another one by the author, which I later on purchased, but I haven't read them since. This one was such a good read. I love the characters and the development that takes place in this writing. If you're looking for one where, you know, everyone sees her and falls in love with her, but she only has eyes for one, this is the author for you. I really like the aspect of the story. I like the premise of it, but I know it's not going to be for everyone. So the story starts with our main character talking about a few months prior to this. She met a man in a bar, and she and he kind of hit it off. And now every now and then he will appear in her bedroom, in her house, in the middle of the night, and they have their time and then he leaves. And she has no idea who he is, like what his name is or anything. And all of a sudden, stuff happens in her life, and he no longer is the mystery man appearing in the middle of the night. This one, guys, like mm, this is definitely book boyfriend worthy. Like, I love this story. I love the progression and the redemption and all the things. It just works for me so well. Like, this is one of my favorite books. I absolutely loved every minute I spent reading this story. And now we move on to the final two books. I don't have much to say on these because my niece wanted to read these when she was here over March break. I never say no if she asks to have a bedtime story read to her or she wants to read a book at bedtime. Never say no. And these are what she chose to read. She wanted to read Don't Push the Button, Christmas Adventure, and she wanted to read God Gave Me Grandpa. So these are the two books that she wanted to read while she was here, and I enjoyed them. They're fun stories, and it's nice getting to read a bedtime story to my niece. I definitely don't get to do that very often. So as I said, when she asks, I usually will always say yes, even if she should be getting into bed. She knows that she can kind of push it. She doesn't always do it. She'll do it maybe one night out of an entire week. But yeah, those were the two that she wanted to read. And I'm going to finish this off with a little mini book haul for you guys because one of my things this year was that I wanted to make sure that I wasn't continuing the book buying ban, but my premise was that I wanted to feel like I had earned to purchase the books because I do have a very large TBR. Very large. I have a lot of books that I have not read on my shelves. So my intention is I wanted to feel like I wasn't just adding more and not actually reading them. So I have decided for every 10 books I read, I get to purchase a book. Now, I decided to hold off for this specific purchase because it was for a manga trilogy. So I actually had to wait until I had finished 2 of these full punch cards in order to get the 2 books. And I got them the beginning of this month. So I'm showing it now instead of waiting. And they are, if I turn them the right way, volume 2 and 3 of Love in Focus. So this is a shoujo romance. It is a trilogy. I read the first one a couple years ago, I think. I really, really loved it. It's so good. I really like the author, the manga author, which is Yoko Nogiri. And I probably will pick up more by this author. Right now, I'm not picking these up right away because my intention is I want to read these after I finish the book club read I'm in the midst of reading right now. So right now I am reading Dire Bound by Sable Sorensen. I am currently 122 pages through. Like, I'm not that far through the book, but I do need to get on it because I've been reading it for over a month, and I swear this book is putting me in a reading slump, guys. And I don't want to go back into that. That was almost 2 years of a reading slump. I am not going back. I refuse to go back into a reading slump. So once I finish reading Dire Bound, I am going to allow myself to read the 2 manga books that I have currently got, and I'm going to close off that manga series. I'm really excited to read the manga series, so I'm hopeful, very hopeful, that I'm going to be encouraged to carry on reading Dire Bound and be able to finish it off. So there you guys have it. There is my March wrap up and mini book haul. And I thought I would ask, instead of asking you, what's your favorite book of the month? What is your least favorite book of the month? I want to know what is the most recent book that you acquired. And it doesn't have to be purchased. So it could be you were lent the book. It could be that you went to the library and borrowed it. Or it could be that you purchased it. But what is the most recent addition to your reading during the month of March into the present right now? Anyway, I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you next time. Until then, stay safe, stay well, and I will see you then. Bye!